Good morning, comrades. You are listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Jeff here with a couple of very special guests. First, let's introduce our returning champion, Alex Quinteros. Welcome back, Alex.
Thank you,
Huh?
Jeff. Hello, hello. Welcome. I'm glad to be back.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Well, that's a lie. I'm doing as well as any working class person could be doing in this moment,
Hmm.
a thousand different things to do, but you know, you just got to keep doing it.
That's the task ahead of us. We also have a brand new guest on the program. It is her first appearance on here, coming to us from San Antonio, Texas. Lexy Garcia. Hello, Lexy.
Hi, good to be here. Thanks so much for having me. How's it
Yeah,
going?
I'm doing okay. Oh, as of recording, we have y'all are South and West Coast. So y'all aren't getting as much of this, but we have this big cloud of just horrible like forest fire blowover from these unfortunate Canadian wildfires, and it's just I guess just another uh, another achievement for us in the road to climate death, I suppose. But we're gonna stop it. We're gonna pull the brakes on that runaway train. But I did want to ask you just to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Lexy. I am an organizer in San Antonio, Texas since 2019. I've been a DSA member since 2020. And I have served as co-chair of the local chapter for 3 years. Right now, I'm taking more of a role in our immigration organizing and Palestine solidarity, as well as, how we weave those into our electoral campaigns. And I've been in the movement since 2016 and really happy to be on and talk all things DSA.
Yeah, and that is what we did want to talk to you about is the immigration organizing and Palestine solidarity work, among other things that an organization like DSA can uh, really needs to be engaged in, not just because like it's the right thing to do. It's the right like without immigrants, this country is nothing. Without, I mean, it's just the idea of America, which was sort of created on this, at least rhetorically speaking, promise of give me your tired, poor, huddled masses and all this other stuff, and the idea of America deporting, basically coming after immigrants and people who might not have documentation or whatever, is essentially the equivalent of America taking a shotgun, pointing it at its own face, and pulling the trigger. Like, it really is such a self-defeating, and in addition to the immorality and horror of it, it's just like wrong. And it's self-defeating. It's disgusting. So I can't help but I can't help but just like harp on that.
Yeah, I would say, Jeff. I mean, I think a lot of folks in the U.S. Agree with you, right?
Yeah.
I think, with the work that for my 9 to 5, we focus in the Southwest, in the South and
Hmm.
Southwest, and but I live in Los Angeles, and with so many, I mean, I believe it's more than 60 people that have died either at the hands of ICE or in detention centers,
Hmm.
and I mean, this is exactly why the system was set up to do, right?
Hmm.
To like literally oppress Black and brown bodies and undocumented people, to profit for the billionaire class.
Hmm.
But we do see that, they do all these polls, and you can see the amount of people that hit the streets that are not in favor of this, are not like actually are very much in support of abolishing ICE, because it
Hmm.
is, it is a terrorist like militia group that has been just like militarized by the state. So it is unfortunate, but there are different ways, and I'd love to hear more of Lexi too, the work that workers are doing in Texas, right? Because it's also like a different fight, knowing that also the state is coming after
Hmm.
activists as well. But at the same time, it's like it's incredibly important work to be fighting against this and to really be there for our communities.
Hmm. Lexi, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, you're right. People are fully against this, and we see it time and time again whenever there is the latest atrocity like that. Momentum is fueling our organizing day in and day out. It doesn't stop whenever the news stops talking about Lorenzo. There's always a next step, a next ask, and a way to tie it to the everyday conditions that workers face, including immigrant workers. And so in Texas, we're, particularly situated in extreme racist laws that embed the police with ICE. And not only are those laws embedded into people's daily lives and freedom of movement, but they are used against everyone, even if you have status. And so
Absolutely.
What a lot of people that are coming into this movement now are finding out is that if we don't protect our immigrants, like our immigrant community, no one is protected. Mm-hmm. And we see that whenever, in Texas, there is something called SB4, the Show Me Your Papers law, which codifies blatant racism by law enforcement to ask anyone who is brown, who is speaking Spanish, who is driving a pickup truck. These are
it's just legalized profiling. Like it's literally what it is.
Yeah, to show them that they're a citizen. And there was a raid on a food truck park that ended up rounding up just anyone who was there catching a meal after their late night shift. Mm-hmm. And our response was, a public demonstration, but then also canvassing that area and making sure that people know that ICE is in the area. Mm-hmm. We hit up the council person in that district, made sure that she told us exactly what hand SAPD, San Antonio Police Department, had in this, and that just illuminated and opened up all of these things about how our local law enforcement is aiding and abetting a terrorist organization in our city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And 100%. And I think the thing that is really important to underline in what you're saying right now, and again, this is in addition to the immorality of coming after people who are just trying to eat after a shift, or breaking up families and locking babies in cages and all this other stuff. I think in a sort of like a zooming out 20,000 foot. Like you said something that was really important, that these are tactics that are not going to be, even if it were, it would be unacceptable, but they're not tactics that will be limited to these groups that are targeted. They're coming at everybody. And if you're going to look at it from a class perspective even, these are our brothers and sisters. These are people that are working class just like us. And so what this is directly is an attack by a capitalist state on working class people.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
If I could add to that really quickly, I think one of the things is, in the immigrant community, and I know right now there's a lot of focus on the Latino community, but it really does encompass so many other folks. And also in the way that a lot of these tactics have been used historically against Black Americans in this country, right, with the police, also against indigenous people and of the genocide of indigenous people, and also the connection to Palestinians, right, knowing that these are the kind of infrastructures and the systems that they're using right now to surveil us are the same ones that Israel has been using to commit a genocide against Palestinian people, right? So this is all connected in terms of when we talk about working class, and especially the capitalist and the billionaire class are the ones that really benefit from us kind of fighting internally. And obviously there's a lot of conversations, and I don't want to diminish the really important conversations that we have in terms of how Latinos can also be upholding oftentimes white supremacy, right? But ultimately it is that underlying understanding that you said, Jeff, that this is a working class issue, and this is like a working class issue that goes beyond borders, and beyond countries.
100%. Because again, the capitalist class, capital transcends borders, but for some reason they're used to gate people in, and that is one of the main mechanisms that are, I mean, the United States can create death, havoc, destruction. Just this year, we kidnapped the president of Venezuela. We're holding him, just completely without any charges, even really, just detention. And that's not going to create people that are going to be forced out of their country and find places that they would need to work, be that somewhere else or be that the United States. I mean, the United States foreign policy creates refugees and then even brings refugees in and then just polices the crap out of them.
Yeah, I mean, we see this with TPS too, and I'm curious to know, like, Lexy, if you guys are seeing this in Texas as well, but like literally that, right? Like there's a situation, you have temporary protected status, that's what TPS stands for, and it's a work permit. It's not any form of residency. It's not, there's not like a clear guideline to citizenship because it's literally just a work permit. And I think it's also very telling that a lot of these raids that are happening are at workplaces. It's when people, this entire, like these lies of, we're going to make America safer or we're going after criminals. It's like, really? Because the people that you have been killing have been at work. People that are literally, that build their communities. We see this especially with, what happened in Texas, right, with a construction worker. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Lorenzo Araujo.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Like who had been, in Houston for 35 years, right? So, yeah, I think it's just it's a lot of tragedy, and I think also a moment for us to really figure out what are the things that we can do to continue to protect each other, not only like, yes, like at the ballot, but not in like the DNC way, but like in the DSA way, and what would that look like? And also just having the community defense. And, we've been doing business canvassing here in Los Angeles, and where I work, where we do work in the Southwest, we've trained up to 3,000 people nationwide since last year on business canvassing. Like when we go around to small mom and pop shops and let them know about their constitutional rights, specifically the 4th and 5th Amendment. And, and it's worked. We've actually seen, we've had people come back to us and tell us like, hey, we went to this place. They told us that a week later I showed up, and they actually knew, they felt empowered. They knew how to, actually not only did they know their rights, they knew how to invoke their rights. And therefore they were able to successfully defend themselves and their coworkers. And it's not only just like, that's a great success, but that also literally could mean saving a life of one of our community members. And that could mean ensuring that a family was not separated that day. So when people are feeling, or if you're listening and you feel like hopeless, like know that there are people that are doing this work in different ways, depending on your capacity, but there's something that we should all be doing as working class people to protect one another.
It does work. Like we also do business canvassing in San Antonio, and we didn't arrive there like, by accident. Every movement that we make is, strategically calibrated against who we're fighting. We've had to change from business canvas to neighborhood canvas back to business canvas because ICE is changing their tactics. And as they move, we move. And, we want to get to a point where we are proactive instead of reactive. But as it is now, we are like, I guess a metaphor an organizer told me one time was like, good organizing is being there when the sun is shining, of course, but then when the rain comes, knowing to put the rain buckets out. And so right now, in this time where, ICE isn't, we're not, at the point of Minneapolis of block by block organizing, but we are proactively going out to businesses and making sure that they know their rights, as well as have, we're handing out like employees only signs to each business so that they know that if ICE were to come, there is a place where workers or even people that are in the restaurant can go and be supposed to be safe from ICE.
And it's also a cultural signifier, like those signs that say ICE not welcome, or one of our community defense groups here gave us some really cool signs that are just like F ICE and all this other stuff. Like that is also building, like, not just political consciousness, because I do think that people generally, like, if you would have a majority of people were polled, they would agree with us. But having those things out there actually build a bit of like awareness that, one, people are not alone, and that encourages people to act in defense of their brothers and sisters in these situations.
Yes, to know that other people are against it, that is also like a part of the tactic, right? Like we make this initial relationship with a business who were coming in, these random socialists, to talk to them about ICE and their workers, like you have to meet folks where they're at and first initially have that conversation. But then, a couple of weeks go by, we take another lap, go to those same businesses, see if they have the sign, the employees sign up. And then as you start to build a rapport, we have been successful in getting an ICE not welcome here, everybody welcome here except ICE, into some of those stores. And there was even something that we talk about is I take your point really well, because I use that to get our chapter to pursue all kinds of businesses, not just like the Michoacana or, thing, or like the taqueria or something, but like, let's go to the coffee shops. Let's go to the wine bars. Let's go to the places where, like-minded people might be, because the more widespread it is, the more cultural, impact we're having. And ever since then, the places in San Anto that are against this terror.
And not just like where the people might agree, but where these people work. If you're going and you work at a place that has a ICE not welcome here sign, or if you patronize a coffee shop or a bar or a tattoo shop or whatever it is that has that that kind of signage up there, I mean, you can, like, I don't want to be like, this is virtual signaling or whatever, but like this is something that's a signifier that, like, the community stands against. Like when I was in 2019, I went to Chicago for the teacher strike up there. You have businesses with support Chicago Teachers Union in the window all over the place. How is this any different? This is something that the community can get behind to support our own. And when you have that visible community support, it almost reminds me of open support in a labor union. Like, you're concretely making a commitment to say, hey, I stand on this side of this battle. I am on the right side of history. I stand with people who are under attack right now. I stand with the working class. Then you can essentially assess what else these kinds of either people or businesses or community groups or whatever it is can do. The fact that they're willing to put on the button or the pin or the sign in the window, or paint their car with shoe polish or whatever it is.
This reminds me so much of one of the things that we do in LA too is we've been doing some school patrols. So one of our DSA members is also a teacher, member of UTLA. Shout out to our teacher unions. And
I'm a former teacher myself. You knew that?
I didn't.
I was a school teacher. I taught middle school special ed for 9 years.
Get out of here!
Yeah.
Oh,
I was also the building rep for my building for my teachers union as well.
That does not surprise me at all, Jeff. Love to hear it.
Anyway, it's not about me. I'm sorry. But shout out to the teachers union at UTLA.
Shout out
to the fighters
teachers
out there.
Honestly, across the country, but there was this fear, a specific area in Los Angeles where there was a lot of ICE activity, and they had connected with our Immigration Justice Committee, and just like, hey, do we have some folks that can kind of do school patrols in the mornings and the afternoon? And I've been to quite a few of them in the morning, and I'm not a morning person, but I'm like, you know what, for my community, I'll do it, So getting up at 6:30 to drive over, and we have these vests, we have these whistles, we've been trained. Try to get 2 folks at the entrance and 2 folks at the back entrance, and honestly, just kind of one, bearing witness, and then, but two, it has just been really incredible to like build those relationships with not only with other teachers but also community members. Like there was one day that we were there where the principal came out and like had given us like donuts, and then there was a guy that drove over who told us that he's been patrolling with his drone. So like he like has his drone going around the school, and he saw us, and he was just like so grateful, and he like gave us water, and like other people were giving us pan dulce. We're like, whoa, you know, a lot of snacks, but it was really sweet. And the parents too, though, the parents were like telling us in like in Spanish, being like, muchas gracias por lo que están haciendo, you know, like thank you for what you're doing, and like and smiling, because like even if, you know, obviously we're not there to interfere with any, we're there to bear witness, but it's I think oftentimes, you know, when we think about what actual organizing really is, it's about relationship building, and it's because you believe that people deserve a life of dignity, and we believe that a better world is possible, right? And it's just really incredible and empowering, and like even if it's like so hard. I mean, I did immigration defense work for 7 years, you know, when we worked mostly with unaccompanied minors that were seeking different forms of asylum and, you know, immigration relief. And it's hard work. But at the same time, it is like, you know, secondhand trauma, there's secondhand resilience. And I really do believe that's like a thing. And it's just been really like, I've talked about this online before, but it's like, it's hard to be dealing or to be holding so many different emotions at once, where you have a lot of grief, a lot of anger, resentment, sadness. And at the same time, you feel this immense sense of like love when I look around in my community, and I'm like, damn, like people are really stepping up. And I think those are the things that really inspire others to also do the same, like regardless of what it is that your capacity can be. Because I think sometimes people, you know, if they see DSA, I know I joined in 2020 as well, Lexy. I remember being like, maybe I don't know enough, you know, maybe like I'm not that well read, you know, or whatever it may be. But like we're a working class person who, you know, yes, reading, of course, please do it, but at the same time you have lived experience as a working class person, so then that is like for me the most important, you know. So it's like, you know, what, regardless of, you know, even Mark said it, like everybody with their, like, according to their means, you know. And so I do think there's so much truth to that, and especially in a moment like this, whether it's school patrol, whether it's business canvassing, whether it's know your rights, whatever it is, like there is a space for you, and in fact we desperately need you.
100%. And I could not agree with you more on the, like I joke sometimes on this show that like too much reading will make you stupid. Like, but like it's a joke, obviously, but like, I like nothing, no matter how much, you know, how much Lenin or Marx or Gramsci or whatever it is that you've read. And I do think that stuff is important, and we do need people that are going to be like scholars or whatever, as, you know, working class scholars or whatever. But like nothing in any of this stuff is more important than experience and stakes. Stakes are also super important. Like the folks that are on the ground that are affected by this are going to be the ones that are leading on this kind of stuff, because they have the most skin in the game, I guess you could say. So when it comes to people like myself, the whole point is to follow the lead and be there as backup and make it happen. So when it comes to, so you made the connection earlier of the sort of Palestine work that you guys have done in sort of like associated with some of this stuff. Did you want to talk a bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So San Antonio DSA has been engaged in anti-Chevron, a boycott Chevron campaign in alignment with the international BDS movement. And this also was not a random campaign that we wanted to embark on, but there was in fact like a coordinated strategic call out from the BDS movement, because Chevron has expanded in the region and could potentially expand more if there isn't some kind of intervention or slow in investment. And they have seen what slower investment has done. And so we've been boycotting Chevron and canvassing all Chevron stations to kind of gauge each owner, trying to talk to the the both the attendants and the owners. We've gotten meetings with some of them, and we've gotten them. The call is to have them officially call on Chevron to stop fueling genocide in the region. There's actually they're fueling power lines that go directly over parts of Gaza and power Israel, and do not at all power Palestine.
Direct extraction of natural resources, like direct extraction.
Yes. They call it energy genocide. So that has been something that's grounded in our chapter, both with our electoral campaigns, making sure that our candidates commit to openly supporting, and just building overall membership buy-in in a shared vision of a campaign. We're not going to get far if people don't find themselves in the movement and find a place where they can directly plug in. So San Antonio DSA has had really those three main plates spinning of Palestine solidarity, electoral work, and immigration justice. Yeah.
Alex, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, I've also worked for the anti-Chevron campaign. So for anyone who's listening, it's like ongoing. Do not purchase your gas from Chevron. Do not do it. Tell people. I always say this. Like, one of the things that we as organizers is to remember, just share it. It's a little bit of a cheese man. Maybe just tell people, hey, don't buy from Chevron. Just like keep letting people know, because sometimes I think oftentimes some working people just are literally not aware, right? And I really hate that BS.
I wasn't aware until just now that was on. So
see, there you go.
I learned something.
Lexy, you told Jeff. Amazing. You know what I mean? But I think oftentimes we do have to have this when you're talking to folks, having that grace to know sometimes people are not doing out of ill intention, right? And it's just so this oh, you can Google it. I hate seeing that comment online. You can Google it. It's some people don't know what to Google, so it doesn't help for you to be telling them this, right? So if we really want to talk about having a mass party or mass working people who are going to take back power against the capitalist fascist billionaire class, then you need to stop talking to people like they're idiots and I'm being super disrespectful. I thought this was all about the fact that we want a different future for the world where people have can live a life of dignity and respect, right. And we need to be practicing that as well when we say. But in terms of Palestine, I think one of the things that is also really incredible to see is our DSA candidates and our electeds, because they have the backing of an organization, right? Because we say this all the time, when you get our endorsement, it's not a paper endorsement. It's not here you go, here's a couple $1,000. We don't got that kind of money, but we got people power. We do have the ability to knock on doors. We do have the ability to do all these different things. We had a mariachi fundraiser for one of our candidates here who got reelected. Shout out to my city council member, Mrs. Hernandez, who is doing so many different things to fight against LAPD, and the fact that they have about almost half of the entire budget for the city of Los Angeles. Almost 50% of the budget goes to LAPD, right? Which means that's directly taking away the funds that can be going to services for folks. But going back to our electeds, one of the things again is the what's the word? We just swept. We swept in New York, right? We swept in New York. We're winning in Colorado. It's it's not only on the coast. We're seeing this happening in other places. People they're going off to the runoffs, even in Arizona. We got folks in Florida as well. You know what I mean? It's because again we are talking about a vision of a different world that is possible, instead of this same kind of rhetoric of everything sucks, but we're less crappy than those. It's people don't want to hear that. People want to hear about affordability, and I think that's one of the differences of our DSA candidates, and connecting that and and not being afraid, because we're not receiving, our candidates are not receiving APAC money to be oh no, I'm too scared to say genocide, and that's because again we have people power to actually go out and canvass and knock on doors for the people that we believe are going to support actual working class issues, right? We know that elections are important. They are important, right? As a labor organizer, they're not the most, right? It comes from work, from the bottom up and workers organizing, but it is a session that we should think about. And that's, I think, one of the things that I'm really proud to see, like how, I don't know if you've seen, Jeff, like, Fox News is doing all this,
oh my God,
basically free publicity for us. They're like, can you believe these like radicals who are saying like Medicare for all, and people are like, yeah, if you read the comments on the National DSA TikTok, they're just like, that sounds great. I didn't realize I was a socialist, actually.
Yeah. My favorite one was when Ashik went on, I think it was Will Kane's show. I talked about this with somebody else recently. Like, Ashik goes on Will Kane's show. Ashik is one of the co-chairs of DSA. He's also Groundwork. But he was on Fox News, and he's talking to Will Kane, and Will Kane's talking about all that awesome stuff and why it's so bad or whatever, like Medicare for all and that sort of stuff. And then I love, my favorite part was when Will Kane, who is like a host on Clan TV, like Fox News, this is like the worst. He's like, why is DSA so white? To Ashik, who's a Bangladeshi American, is just like, what is going? Like, I felt like my soul left my body in that moment. That was so awesome.
No, we are an organization of multiracial working class, and what I think Ashik does so well about like communicating in areas like that, and also to members, like our organization knows really clearly that like our end goal isn't to win these campaigns. Like our end goal is to win the campaigns and show people our politics through them, and like garner enough power, popular support, and build a large organization, and recognize that the only thing that government has been able to reliably give us is punishment over and over again, or criminalization, or unaffordability, high bills. But like our candidates have been showing that government can work for you, and it's bringing more people in, and
And I also want to really pause for station ID real quick. The WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3 is Good Morning Comrade. On that as well, the things that you're describing, the support for Palestinian humanity and the end of the genocide, the end of the Iran war, the abolition of ICE, or even if it's defunding of ICE, or just like anti-ICE, whatever, if it's Medicare for all. These are all positions that are extremely popular that mainstream Democrats cannot even consider. So much so that it's super telling that it's not Democrat-aligned media that's having grace from New York City DSA or Ashik or anybody else from DSA on, but it's the right-wing media trying to bring it on to start crap, and it's just like a really interesting thing to see, because I mean it is an opportunity for an organization like DSA to get its message out, but it is also like this is a civil war, because like what's going on right now on the sort of like on the establishment American quote unquote, like it's not a left, but it's sort of like the relative left of establishment Democrats, is they've been peddling like no hope since Jimmy Carter. They've been peddling this idea that the world can't get better. You have to just deal with it. Eat the turd and just sort of like swallow it and like it, because otherwise you're going to get nothing. And what we're bringing here is an actual affirmative politics that they must stomp it out as best they can, because it, one, refutes their entire perspective, and two, it gives people the idea, the recognition that people have the power to actually change things. It doesn't have to be this way. The world can be better, and the only thing that's standing in the way are these MFers that are trying to stomp it all out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that reminds me, a shout out to Marissa Roy, who's a cadre member here in Los Angeles, and is running for city attorney, and is like completely endorsed by a chapter. Like, she's just incredible. Like, I remember the first time I heard her speak, I was like, damn, like we asked her what like we had a forum, and we were asking when we were figuring out who we're going to endorse, and we're like, what's the thing you're most proud of in your career? And she said, there was wage theft that was happening with carguacheros. For those who don't know, it's like there's a lot of these workers are immigrants. A lot of these workers tend to be undocumented, and so we see a lot of these raids. And she said that one of the most proudest moments for her was that she was actually able to successfully sue these like employers and got $2 million back in wage in stolen wages for these workers. So these are like actual material like conditions that are changing, that it can change. And of course, like little behold, like, you know, all these corporations are throwing so much money right at her opponents, because this is someone that is actually like she has sued Meta, for example, for like the dangers for children and like the social media and how they're like what's the word, using these algorithms to make people even more addicted. You know, she's sued the Trump administration, like, you know, she's saying about holding like ICE accountable, holding, you know, LAPD accountable, and like they don't want to hear that, right? They don't want to hear that, because then it's going to demonstrate. I mean, so Mamdani's demonstrating this like so much, right? Like the fact that he even came out was just like, no, I'm not going to take an increase, because nobody that I'm talking to in New York cares about the salary. Yeah, and like that, like if we continue to demonstrate that through our DSA politics, right, when we really are talking about real working class issues that are driven, right, we're member led, member funded, something that Ashik told me when I first met him. I was like, yeah, I love that saying. I know he didn't say it, but I love it. It's like capitalist, socialist cash beats capitalist trash, right? So it's like it is an opportunity for us to really like build something out of, and not be constrained by, you know, funders, or constrained by like, you don't want to piss off, you know, whatever, like the boss or whatever. Like this is a space where you can do this like external organizing that is so important as well. This is why for me, I'm like, build your union in your workplace and join DSA, you know, and those are the two things that are just like that for me since I joined in 2020, that I was like, wow, this is like a political home for me. And it's, you know, it's not perfect. I'm mad,
of course not,
like 99% of the time, but you know, but I'm also just mad, you know what I mean? Because how would I not be? So I think there's just like a lot of things that people are like listening, like, I'm not sure, you know, like there's a space for you, and you know, and there's other comrades in this space that want to see you succeed, that want to see you be part of something, so we can literally so we don't have to keep, like Lexy said, living in this like reactionary way, but actually think proactively. Like I think oftentimes we don't even have an opportunity to think of what a future would look like. Like if we take a time to actually just sit down and be like, what is your ideal future? And I think it's just like, you know, because the other side is constantly just like boom, boom, boom. So I think we need to do much more creativity, much more imagination of like, what is the kind of future we want to live in, and building it.
You're right. We have to be clear-eyed about that. And you are so right to point out DSA as a political home, because what we create together is, is co-created. And as like you say, like, don't other yourself in the union, you like don't other yourself in DSA either. You are DSA, and the organizers around you want to build you up. And everything tangible and like effective that I've learned has come from being in DSA. And this is just after my day job, stealing a little time here and there. Yeah. But like really,
I didn't hear you say that.
Really spending the time in figuring out how a Google Sheet works, and learning some tricks, knowing how to cut a list, how to build a list. All these things are tactful things that regular working people can learn how to do to affect change and like be a there's a lot of different ways to be a DSA member. I know I'm not luring you in with like a Google Sheet, but
some people are really into Google Sheets though.
Yeah. That's where I found my home. So yeah, you're so right that we're all here to like build up new members, and there's no prerequisite, like you are a member of the working class.
It was a joke on social media for like the longest time, where I think it was even like a Twitter account back in the day where it was like DSA should, and it was just a bot that would just say like random stuff. And like it's a joke because people will often just say like DSA should do X, Y, and Z. And like That's probably a great idea. Whatever that idea is, probably a great idea. You know how you get that idea enacted in a democratic organization? You have to organize with people to move that idea, not just to get it passed as like a resolution at a general meeting or at DSA convention or whatever the hell. You need to have a plan to actually implement that, have people who are going to take ownership and responsibility for bottom lining this thing. That's how you make something successful. That's how you get from DSA should to DSA is going to do that thing. So I think that's really important, that if you're a member of DSA and you know, there's a lot of like hand wringing internally about like paper members and all this other stuff. I think it's great that we have like tons of members of DSA, and it's great that they have opinions. If you're so worried about engaging them, you have to build those relationships, and one way to do that is if somebody does say DSA should X, come to the general meeting. We'll talk about it. We'll find people. We'll try and like figure out how we can actually implement this, as opposed to just like posting on social media on Elon Musk's website or whatever it is. I mean, like, and I'm not against posting. I don't think either of y'all are either. But like, it's just like it's not a healthy It's not a healthy outlet for your like. There's different kinds of posting. There's the angry posting, but there's also the promoting cool stuff posting, and I think I prefer the latter.
What is a post if not a posture?
A
promotion post.
I actually just jumped on a call with some workers here in LA. I'm not going to give too much information because they're still in bargaining right now, but they had reached out to me on social media like, hey, can we jump on a call? And I was like, yes, of course. And, a lot of flashbacks to when me and my coworkers were unionizing the second time, and just like, dang, like this, the union busting just like so it's like so
disgusting.
It's disgusting. Exactly. Union busting is disgusting, but I feel like so much of that experience really helped also really mold the way that I see myself as an organizer inside of my workplace and outside, and even with DSA as well. So when you said we have so many paper members, I don't even know if I like that term, to be honest. Like that
They're
term,
dues payers. They're dues payers. Like that's what they are.
You're paying your dues.
They're members.
I think I don't have I'll have the book over there, but the Labor Notes book, Secrets of a Successful Organizer, it's a bullseye. You have different people, the core folks like this. It's just like, yes, everyone has a role to play. And you're like, so if we're dismissing or like diminishing people who are parents who may not be able to go to every single meeting, but have an opinion and are doing something in their community, like then their vote matters, right? So I want to say that we have over 120,000 members nationwide. We have become the largest democratic socialist organization in the history of this country. That is huge, right? That is huge. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about what happened, recently with the National Political Committee, because I think it makes me think of, when I in my union, right? Like we think of, we're so critical, especially in DSA, and like these leftist spaces of like these bureaucratic unions that don't care about their members. Exactly. Yeah. So like it is important to get the input of your members. Like, what are you if not the members, right? Even like I'm in a position of leadership right now. I'm an elected position and I'm on steering for my chapter, right? Also for national and for communications. At the end of the day, the closer that you are to the membership, the more you're going to understand. And if you're going to say I disagree with what the majority of the membership wants, then that's on you, boo. That's on you to do some internal organizing for the ideas that you want, like we were talking about right now. It's then you need to organize. I'll give you guys an example. There was something in my last union where I wanted to be a lot more militant about this thing we were going to do with.
Of course you were.
I wanted us to do I wanted the action to be a little stronger, and my coworkers weren't there, and I was so frustrated. I spoke to my mentor. She goes, Alex, if you don't got the numbers, you don't have the power. Yep. And I was like, damn, okay, you're right. She goes, well, what do you have to do? I have to keep having those conversations with my coworkers. I'm not going to try to bulldoze and act like what I am saying is correct if my membership and my coworkers are not there, right? So I think that's a really important part of this entire situation. It's I think I was listening to the last National Political Committee meeting, and they were like, too much information is not necessarily good. What are you
Can I pause you just can I pause you just for 1 second and just sort of like set the stage for the audience who are
Yes.
listening? You're referring specifically to and if you actually listen to our previous episode, we discussed this as well. The National Political Committee essentially pressing pause on putting out a survey to the entire membership on the question of a presidential endorsement in 2028, specifically because there's a lot of sort of skepticism around Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is one of the probably the most prominent DSA member ever.
Absolutely.
and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just sort of like wanted to ground that for the audience. And can you sort of like talk a little bit about what you've seen with that, both of you guys, quite frankly? And I didn't mean to like stop the train while it's rolling, but like I do think that audience need context.
No, 100%. Thank you, Jeff. I was like, let's go. But like,
you were cooking.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that DSA has done this exact thing before. We did it for Bernie Sanders in 2020. We, it kind of started in 2016, whenever, he made his first run. DSA got on a little bit later, but there was a national coordinated action to support the most prominent Democratic Socialist historical event in United States political history at that point.
Yeah, I remember I was canvassing in the park for Bernie Sanders in St. Bernard Parish, Louisiana, and in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana.
Right. We all know where we were. We all know where we were 2020 Nevada also, which is the last time that DSA meaningfully intervened. Now, we learned from 2016, and we then said, okay, we need to do this early. If he decides to run again, we have this year-long plan, and that plan includes getting buy-in from the membership through a poll. So that poll went out, and it was, I believe, like we were much smaller at that point, and about 26% of membership, of our entire membership, responded, but it was overwhelmingly yes. If he does announce, we are going to meaningfully intervene. We're going to have canvasses, and DSA was, at the table and a partner only because we were early on in that launch of his campaign, because we had already decided that we were going to do it based on what he said. And so what we're seeing now is, an attempt to replicate something that worked really well in growing our organization, in training up new people that know how to host a canvas and phone bank and host relational organizing parties, like all of these skills. Many of those people are still around. That I'm still around. I've learned so much from that. And we are just ready to, take on whatever most viable Democratic Socialist candidate is ready to throw her hat in the ring. And so that's why this member poll is so crucial, because those people that did vote were there for that buy-in and were the executors of something that was really historic for our organization.
Alex?
Ditto. No, like 100%. Like, yes to all of this, So I think, again, it just reminds me of like being in your union. And again, I think, obviously we have elected positions, right? And they're really important. They really matter. But just like in your union, the power comes from the membership, right? And so if there's this fear that, that leadership is going to want a different way than the membership, then we need to have a conversation about that, right? But again,
and I'm sorry, make a political argument, not a procedural argument too. The procedural stuff makes me nuts.
Talk more about that, Jeff.
Well, again, like instead of having a political argument over the merits of whether or not you should endorse AOC, it's talking about anything other than that. It's talking about how the process should go and hitting the brakes on there to scuttle the political question, because people don't want to actually make the political argument against AOC because she's popular among members. So it's a way of clip this, I guess, but like that's an act, in my opinion, of political cowardice in a lot of senses, and I do think that it skirts these questions. I've seen it happen in the past, and it's in my own chapter in New Orleans around the question of endorsing my good friend Lauren Jewett. And look, I don't want to be like I know a lot of these people involved, and I know this is running in New Orleans on the radio. But like, if you're listening to this and you're at the convention just a couple of weeks ago, the question of endorsing her came up, which I think is probably a little bit too late. And you can go either way on this question. Even though I loved Lauren, she's a school teacher. She's a real one. I met her at a Fight Back Against ICE meeting for the first time ever. But like, if you're not in favor of supporting her, that's fine or whatever. But at least engage directly on that question and don't sort of like get wrapped up in the procedural BS, because there's a clock ticking. And like when it comes to the AOC question in particular, like, we have an opportunity, DSA does, to get in on the ground floor, to get engaged with the campaign, be the organizing infrastructure, kind of like it was with Bernie, and also like when we've seen with Obama in 2008, when he had a political infrastructure that he was in control of, and when that campaign was over, Obama just disbanded it. If there is a DSA infrastructure that is owned by DSA and not by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and not by whatever person is running for office or anything like that, that infrastructure will remain. And that infrastructure will be the tool that would hold that elected official accountable. Not just like you'll have the relationship. That's what you should have no matter what. But if you don't have the carrot or the stick to make them do the thing that you want them to do, it doesn't matter how much you post on social media, or it doesn't matter how many YouTube videos you make complaining about how they've sold out or whatever it is. You don't got the motion to do anything about it or do anything for them or to stop them. So like, you don't matter. Getting organized is the only solution.
Exactly. And like, to your plea to like struggle with the political question itself, like, it is so important to recognize that we have struggled with this political question at our convention, at the highest decision-making body, which is where our members go to vote on resolutions to carry out a plan for our organization. We voted overwhelmingly with support to run a socialist for president in 2028. And who
else is it going to be?
A crisis. Yeah. Who else is it going to be? And it is, if we are attacking something that was so popular by all of the delegates, by the people who put the delegates there, there is a real crisis of what democracy means in DSA whenever we are going against a resolution as written. So we've struggled with the question, and we should continue to struggle with the question around her, but we need to get to a point of support so that we are at the table.
And if I can add, like, I think also, like, two truths can be like two things can be true at once, right? So no one is trying to be like, especially as as organizers, be like these cheerleaders, like, oh yay, haha, like heart, cute, whatever. It's not that. It's like really understanding like the moment that we're in right now, right? So I think one of the conversations that I had with some of my comrades that are in different chapters of like, is a poll the like best thing, right? It's like, well, it's one of the tools that we have in organizing, right? So it's like, it's not, first of all, it's not binding, right? But it's to get a temperature check to see where members are at, and if we have the ability to actually mobilize, a certain percentage of the 120,000, if not more, of those individuals, if anyone that we want to endorse decides to run, right? So I think, yes, like, there is a political question, a political struggle, and I completely agree with you, Jeff. Like, when it's just procedural, like, come on, like, we there's things that are actually at the table that are impacting working people right now, and especially like low income working people of color, and as like a Latina, like Lexy and I here on this call right now, as like, brown DSA members, I think it's a conversation. It's like obviously really matters to us, and again, like I think we need to Like we should be supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense to be supportive of knowing where our
Mm-hmm.
membership is at. Even, for example, even if let's say we did this poll, right? Or even in my union, we did a poll, and majority of my coworkers or my comrades had a disagreement with the way that I see something, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be supporting my comrades, because that's what it means to be moving in democracy and a way that actually is about building power for working people. If not, it's just like it's the same stuff of kind of just trying to bulldoze and be like, no, I know that my answer is correct and this is the way you have to do it. Well, then if you're trying to do it like that, you're not actually organizing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%, and we can leave it at that. Lexy, where can people find what you're up to, what you're doing, or anything like that?
Yeah, you can follow at San Antonio DSA, follow our chapter. We have a canvas coming up this weekend and every weekend after that, so hit us up. We will be actively recruiting for that. Yeah.
Alex?
A couple different places. Yes. My account, All Things Labor, on socials, where I talk about labor, and I'm sassy sometimes, as I was here.
Absolute must follow.
Thank you, Jeff. And also shout out to our chapter, DSA_LA on socials, and also the national. Follow the national account as well. If you're joining, if you want to join DSA, do it. We welcome you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. Would love to have you back. It was so nice meeting you for the first time, Lexy.
You too. Appreciate the conversation and the time.
Totally. And Alex, always a pleasure. We're going to stay in touch, of course.
course.
Thank you to everyone for listening. This has been your weekly dose of Good Morning Comrade. You can hear us every Monday on WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. Listen anywhere in the world, WHIVFM.org/listen. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitch, TikTok, whatever. All Good Morning Comrade. And if you have a Pacifica station and you are listening to the sound of my voice, you can actually ask your local Pacifica station to bring us onto the air. So if you want to hear Good Morning Comrade over the airwaves in your area, we're taking over, baby. We're taking over. So this has been your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Thank you to everyone for listening. We love you. Bye-bye.